Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. The T Podcast today. We have a great episode ahead. We have Casey White, who is the marketing director for the Cajundome. We're going to be talking about all the different events happening at the Cajundome, of course, including the Cajun Heartland State Fair, which is this weekend and next weekend, May 23rd and June through June 2nd. But we're also going to be talking about several different events and concerts coming up. So if you're looking to attend any of those events, you're probably going to want to listen in, and we might talk about a few things about the Cajundome and about the history and what Casey does there. And then I might have a little gift for you guys, a time capsule video per se to mention. So anyway, stick around and enjoy the show.
Tomorrow night.
All right.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, our presenting sponsor is Chase Group Construction. They take the lead and become your one point of contact for the entire design build process. So if you're looking to build something new or renovate your business, you can let Chase Group Construction take the lead on that. They have a very diverse portfolio of projects that they have done around the Acadiana area, including major medical facilities. They have popular restaurants that they've built. I won't name them at the moment, but there's some popular ones in there. Okay, I'll name one. It's the Fat Pats in Broussard and Brobridge. But multi-unit shopping center developments, lots of stuff. Check them out at chasegroupconstruction.com. And reach out to them. They're local and they're supporting us. All right. So, Casey, how is it going today?
It's going really well. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. So tell us a little bit about your role at the Cajundome. You've been there for several years now. Close to 10-ish?
You know what? I just made 8 on Leap Day.
Oh, right.
Of all days, yeah.
Nice. So, tell us a little bit about your role there, how you got started, and all that good stuff.
Sure, yeah. So I guess when I first started at the Cajundome, I was actually the convention center sales manager.
Okay.
So kind of started helping out with folks that were looking to plan events and helping them from that initial, rental contract phase. And then I guess about 6 years ago now, I stepped into the role of marketing director. So, a lot of my responsibilities include promoting the shows that are coming to the building, helping with the advertising buys, things like that, media requests, all that kind of fun stuff. It's definitely a fun job for sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously a big piece of that is planning the annual Cajun Heartland State Fair.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about all the legwork that goes behind some of these. For example, the big one, the Cajun Heartland State Fair. Like, how many months in advance are you guys working on this, or how many years in advance are you guys working on each event each year?
For the most part, I guess in a sense, it's kind of a year-round planning. Obviously, I do this in addition to helping all the other shows that come throughout the year. Right. So there's, kind of like a timeline throughout the year. I want to get XYZ done by August, right? Or by December, we want to have our vendor packets and things like that, our band submissions coming in. So come early January, we're looking at, what bands are going to be on the grandstand and starting that contract process and all that fun stuff. So, it really is kind of a year-long process in a lot of ways. Yeah. There's a lot of planning. Yeah. And even years in advance, right? Because, some of these attractions we might book for multiple years, or maybe they're not available this year or the next year, but we want them for the following. So just starting those conversations. And you're talking about attraction,
like certain rides and whatnot, or?
Yeah, or like the family shows that we have.
Yeah, there you go.
This year we have the Sea Lion Splash. So we actually have real sea lions.
Oh.
There's a few pools. You can watch them swimming around in the pool. They get out on the little stage and do tricks. You can get a smooch on the cheek from a sea lion even. And then we also have a magician this year, so Scott's World of Magic. So a lot of cool little family shows that are free included with your admission. It kind of gives you a little added value for your admission ticket too.
Yeah, and so this is all happening at the Cajun Heartland State Fair.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So sea lions at the Cajun Heartland State Fair.
Yeah.
All right. That is interesting. I wasn't connecting the sea lions to the state fair at the moment, but now that I know that, I'm curious to see if my kid is going to be down for that. We'll see.
Absolutely.
By the way, my kid is here sitting, watching and listening, or kind of, he's got headphones on. But so whenever you guys start doing the whole event kind of process, is it something like you reach out to promoters, or are promoters reaching out to you guys? Like, how does that look? Like, are people passing through town saying, hey, we like your venue, we want to be in it? Or are you reaching out? Like, what does that look like?
It's probably a combination. So from a local standpoint, there are, folks locally or regionally even that do promote concerts and different events. So it could be that maybe they've outgrown their current venue and they come and say, hey, look, I was thinking about the Cajundome. Tell me, what's the process? Or it could be, that they do want to produce a certain concert here. So they'll come to us, and essentially it's a rental deal, right? Like they're renting the Cajundome, they're taking the risk on a show. So if it does well, great. If not, then, sometimes that's why you don't have certain genres that come as often, right?
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on the promoter and the market, and if they feel that it's going to be sustainable for that show. And then obviously we work with bigger promoters like your Live Nation, your AEG, and it's kind of a twofold relationship. Like obviously in a lot of ways, they're planning a ton of tours. So they'll reach out and be like, look, we're routing Jonas Brothers through, going from Mississippi to Texas. We're looking for a spot in Louisiana. Do you have this date available? So sometimes it's very like hit or miss, right? Because if we're in the thick of basketball season and they want the Saturday night when we've got the Cajuns playing at home, we have to be like, sorry, is there any other chance you have another date, right? So there's kind of that, like, I guess in a sense, like a cat and mouse game where you're kind of going back and forth trying to make things work.
Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of a combination of how we get shows. We are considered kind of like a quasi-government entity. So because we receive some funding from the city, tax dollars, we can't take a risk on a show. So we can't go out and buy and hope that it does well, because we can't afford to lose money if it doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's why we work with these promoters. So essentially they take on that risk.
Okay, so is the Cajundome like alone, or kind of in its own box in that respect of being quasi-government versus something, say, like the Superdome, for example? Is the Superdome privately or also quasi run?
That's a good question. I want to say, so they are managed. They have a management company that runs those buildings. We're actually the only building in the state that isn't run by a management company.
Okay.
So we have a 5-member commission that consists of, the university president, another representative from the university, someone that's put on the committee by the mayor president. So, it's a good little combination of folks that oversee in this commission. And then, we're all employed via the commission. So in those other situations in those buildings, if they have an opportunity to buy a show, it's because probably that they're run through those management companies that they can do that.
That's so interesting.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I've never thought about the actual workings of Cajundome or any event center of that size, and knowing what goes on. You just look at the website, or you see the commercials and you see an event coming, and that's all you really think about.
Right. Or why didn't they get this? Yeah. Like, why is it going over here? So yeah, there's a lot of factors that play into it.
As far as competition with the other venues, is there a level of competition of grabbing certain acts or like larger talent? How do you position the Cajundome in Lafayette versus the Superdome, which is a behemoth? Like, how do you try to be competitive? Is there a competitive advantage? What does that look like?
So I guess in a sense we're considered like a secondary market, right? So some tours, they might only go to major markets. Like they're only going to go to New Orleans, to Dallas, to Houston, to Miami, right? Some will do a combination. So in between those larger markets, they'll hit venues that are our size. Maybe they're a 9,000 to 12,000 capacity range. So it really kind of depends on the artist and what the promoter feels that they can sell in different markets. If it's someone that's really hot, they might pick maybe a Bossier City because they've got an extra maybe 1,000, 2,000 seats than us, versus us getting picked over maybe at Baton Rouge because we're bigger than Baton Rouge. And if they think they can sell more seats than what Baton Rouge has, then they might come to us instead.
Okay.
So we're kind of usually in that mix between some of those cities. A lot of times we'll kind of dovetail shows like with Biloxi because it's just enough drive market enough away.
Yeah.
To where like if a show
the
goes to
Coliseum
Biloxi,
there.
then they could come here next. And we've got a really great regional pull for the Cajundome. We pull folks from really as far as East Texas that'll come in for shows. I think in a lot of ways sometimes our drive is easier than maybe trying to get into Houston. Right? Or vice versa, like going the other way. Sometimes like we'll have the same show as New Orleans, but like our show will do better in ticket sales because sometimes people from New Orleans will literally drive over here because it's easier to get to us. We have free parking and,
that's a big
sometimes
one.
although, you might have to park at Cajun Field, that's still a heck of a lot closer than, sometimes where you might have to park in New Orleans.
And a lot safer feeling for a lot of people.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of, definitely pluses, I think, for when they are looking at where they're going to put a show on why sometimes they do pick us over others.
Yeah. So the whole time I kept thinking about this one particular event that I felt like would not stop. It was going on for multiple days. I'm like, how many more shows can this guy put on? And I'm talking about Garth Brooks. Like, okay.
Yes.
Obviously you know more of the details, but if I'm not mistaken, it was for one night initially, or maybe 1 or 2 days initially, and then they added another one. Like I think it was it 3 or 4 shows total?
We had 5 shows total.
Oh my God!
5
Oh
shows.
God!
Yeah, so it's interesting because someone like Garth Brooks. I mean, you saw. I mean, he's sells out Tiger Stadium. He sells out the Superdome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 70,000 to 100,000 people, right? So to come to the Cajundome, and now in the round we could do about 13 and a half, right? So in order to get even anywhere close to what he could do in one show at the Superdome, he did
Split
5 here, right?
And it worked.
And they all sold, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just crazy like how that kind of works. But I think going into it, I think they knew they wanted to come here and do a few shows here because, I mean, we put one on sale and within 10 minutes they're like, yep, turning number 2 on. Like everyone just like yelling through the hallways, in our offices, like, 20 minutes later it was like, all right, we're turning on show number 3.
Wow.
So I think in their mind they already kind of knew how many they wanted to do. So as soon as they hit a threshold on ticket sales, it was like, okay, turn on the next one. It was awesome. It was great for the city. I mean, many people came in, even from out of town, to come to those shows and traveled here. It was such a big economic boost. I think we had, I'm not sure, it was one of the restaurant owners, calls Pam DeVille and is like, I was looking at my numbers from, and this is like maybe the year later, right? I was looking at my numbers from last year in the summer, and like we had this crazy revenue boost, and I can't figure out like what it was. And so she's like, looking at her calendar, and she's like, well, it might have been because we had Garth Brooks here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's it.
Dang, bring him back.
Right? I think everybody wished he'd come back and do that. It's cool to see like how that all trickles throughout our community when we can bring in these big caliber acts to Lafayette as well.
Yeah, that's amazing that it has that much of a economic impact. Because after a show, people go out to eat, drink, do whatever they got to do. Maybe the hotels, obviously, a lot of people staying over the night. Mm-hmm. And to see that, I guess, as a business owner that is affected by that, you're almost like, man, why can't we have like another big spike like that? But obviously they happen. Certain acts will come. It'd be crazy. I know this is probably years out before this ever happens, but Taylor Swift is on like her biggest tour. I think it's the biggest tour. Yeah. Yes. And so if she were to come to the Cajundome, like that would have to be like a 1 month stay. She'd almost have to have like a temporary residence and just like do 30 shows.
Right.
Gosh.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe she opened for George Strait at the Cajundome, obviously very early in her career. So it's
crazy.
Just nuts, right?
Yeah.
And then now to see she's playing sold out stadiums, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
huge
just
events.
And that alone, I mean, you've seen the economic impact that her shows are bringing to those cities that they're in. So It'd be astronomical if something like that, were to come back. If she got humbled and decided to come back to us lowly secondary markets again, and come do some shows would be fantastic. So.
Gosh, could you imagine? That would be the craziest show. I mean, there's some big shows coming up that are good, but, that one's obviously she's on the most high point of her career at the moment.
Absolutely.
And I feel like she's been on a high point of her career for like the past decade. It's like it hasn't stopped. But yeah, so I want to know a little bit about how you got involved in the Cajundome. What were you doing before the Cajundome, and like, what made you want to go into the Cajundome career, the event space career like this?
I guess I don't know, just probably early on, just kind of like a passion for live events and planning in a sense. Like I did a lot of stuff in high school and college. I used to plan bus trips in college,
Okay.
I'd get my friends together and be like, I rented a bus. We're going to go on, a 5-bar hop. Right. So I think that's where it all kind of like started. And then so out of school, I was in New Orleans. I worked for Offbeat magazine.
Okay.
So, going to a lot of music related events and kind of helping push the music scene and culture in New Orleans. And then I moved to Acadiana, I guess in 2011. And so I was actually I worked for the Evangeline Downs Hotel in Opelousas.
Oh, wow.
So I started as a sales director there, like right when they first opened the hotel. And so, just stayed involved with the casino there and tried to, get involved as much as I could. And then 2016 was when the lovely Liz Webb-Hebert got elected to the council. So her position opened up at the Cajundome, and I was fortunate to make it through that interview process, and been there ever since. So I love it, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything right now.
Nice. So you're not originally from here, or are you originally from here?
I grew up in Baton Rouge.
Okay, yeah, so
down
close
the road.
enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been here over, I guess, 12, 13 years now. So time flies.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's crazy. I moved here in 2010, and it's 14 years later, and I'm like, what? Like, where's the space between 2010 and now? Like, what happened here? Mm-hmm. It's just a blink. And then, I have a 7-year-old. That's wild to me, honestly. But yeah, so we got a point where I want to go ahead and mention my next sponsor, and then I want to show the little time capsule video for those that are going to the Cajun Heartland State Fair. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and get my sponsor mentioned here. It is the Music Academy of Acadiana. And you guys have heard me talk about them before, but they are a great local company, one of the top music schools here in Acadiana. They help teach students of all ages and styles. So if you want to learn any instrument, they have it. If you want to improve your voice, they can help you there. If you want to learn audio production, kind of work behind the scenes and make music and audio productions sound better, they teach that. They have an award-winning in-house recording studio where a bunch of local famous people. There's local famous people here. I won't name drop, but there are some people that are working with some major stars right now that are also recording albums there. So really cool. It's founded by UL Music School graduate Tim Benson, who has done a lot of really neat things. He's also in a emo cover band called The Criers, early 2000s emo cover band. Really cool. And I think they're going to be at the Cajun Heartland State Fair this year, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, funny you mentioned that. They're actually opening for Fuel this Saturday.
There we go.
At the fair.
We can talk about that in just a second. But yeah, so the Music Academy of Acadiana, great school. Their goal is to make music lessons fun, educational, and to help foster the next generation of musicians and creative thinkers. Be sure to check them out. Their website is musicacademyacadiana.com. Alrighty. So, let me go ahead and get that little time capsule video played here because I really think it is the quintessential memory for a lot of people in the Acadiana area. So give me 1 second here, and here we go.
It's the Cajun Heartland State Fair. The thrill is on fun at the Cajundome with a giant Ferris wheel and lots of super new rides.
Kids will love the special petting suit and the Nintendo Summer Challenge.
10 of the best bands in the Cajun Heartland on the Budweiser Grandstand.
Don't miss the Southern Lady Arts and Crafts Show inside the Cajundome this weekend.
It's one thrill after another.
Check the Daily Advertiser for event listings.
The Cajun Heartland State Fair.
Yes, that is a commercial. I believe that commercial is from 1992. I just went to YouTube and saw it there, and I believe the title said 1992 in early 90s. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, it's crazy. Before we went live, you were talking about the jingle for the Cajun Heartland State Fair, and I think it's still the same jingle, correct?
I think it's been around for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when it originated, but I think it's kind of an icon of radio jingles for at least Acadiana at this point.
I remember being a kid, and as a kid, I had never gone to the Cajun Heartland State Fair. I only see it like on KLFY or KDC as a kid when we watched the news before school. And I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to go to the state fair, but like, you know, my perception as a kid was like Lafayette's so far away. And I lived an hour away. But like Alexandria was close for us. And so we had like small little town fairs in the area that I would go to. But Lafayette just felt so out of reach. And I would remember like saying, hey, let's go to that fair one day. And it just never happened. So as an adult, whenever I moved here, I was like, I'm going to the Cajun Heartland State Fair. And it was like, this is cool. I remember seeing all of this stuff on TV and the commercials. But yeah, so this is the 36th annual Cajun Heartland State Fair. So 36 years?
That's right. Yeah. So kind of you mentioned that it's kind of cool because it's very generational now. I feel that like a lot of people that went as kids are now the ones coming back with their kids. And so I think that's kind of cool to see. And, you know, I remember, you know, they're telling their stories of, back then, you know, or I remember always. When, right? So that's kind of the cool part now that I guess we're getting older.
You look, it should be illegal to say that because I don't want to get older at all. I'd actually like to just go the other way for a little bit, you know, maybe a few years. But so tell me a little bit more about what's happening at the Cajun Heartland State Fair this year. I know there's a lot of different things and a lot of different events, a lot of music acts. Of course, all the rides and the games and the food, everybody kind of expects that. But like, yeah, so kind of what can we expect this year?
Yeah, so kind of like what we mentioned, we've got the Sea Lion Splash that's here this year. That's a brand new attraction here at the fair. We've got Scott's World of Magic. We also have Safari Station they're calling it the Misfits Menagerie. And
they're local.
Yes, they sure are. Yeah, they just opened a brick and mortar place, I believe. But Sienna with them is awesome. So I think it's $1 admission, but like you can go in and she's got a ton of animals and stuff and little interactive experiences that you can do at her attraction.
Is she going to have a boa there?
Probably.
Probably. She's going to have some crazy animals.
Yes, I'm sure there will be a few snakes for the snake lovers.
All right.
And then we actually, I know you've been to the Table Room before, our kind of like pre-concert venue that we use a lot. But we've kind of transitioned that. Last year we started doing these like larger Instagram-y kind of props in there. So you can go in and, take some fun photos. There's a giant popcorn box.
Like little selfie stations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're kind of theming it Miss Dolly's Lounge. So we it's kind of pink in there and there's some like, nod to the Queen of Country herself.
Yeah.
So it's really cute and fun. We've got some souvenir like boot mugs that you can get a frozen beverage in. Then on the weekends, we're going to be doing karaoke in there with the stage karaoke bar.
Are you going to tell me that Dolly Parton's going to show up?
I can't. No promises. No promises. I don't know. Maybe Jeremy will throw on a wig for me.
All right,
for the karaoke. And then we're also going to do some free bingo games in there as well. So you got a chance to win prizes from some of our sponsors, tickets to some of our upcoming events that we're going to have at the Cajundome, like Hot Wheels monster trucks, Dierks Bentley, things like that. So we're really excited.
All right. Yeah. So speaking of Dierks Bentley, and then we'll talk more about some of the other Cajun Heartland State Fair stuff. But Dierks Bentley is one of their PR people, the press people reached out to me. It was like, hey, Dierks Bentley has a concert. I think it's June 27th.
Yes.
And like, hey, do you want to have an interview with him, or do you want like review tickets to like go to the concert and like tell people about it? And I get a lot of emails that come across as spam or like junk. And so I held on to that email for like a week or two. And then I was like, let me look at it a little bit more. And I did. And then I confirmed everything lined up and it doesn't seem like spam. So I reached out to the guy. I was like, how does this work? I've never interviewed anybody that's a national performer in my life. I don't feel like I'm on that caliber. And then, like I don't work at a TV news station. So like it feels different. And I was like, what is a review ticket? Like, what is that? So the guy came back. He was like, well, the interview slots are all full at the moment because I waited too long. But he said a review ticket is where we give you a ticket. You go to the concert and essentially you tell people about it and how, great of an experience it was. As long as it is great, it should be. And just kind of promote it. And I'm like, man. And I responded, I was like, look, I appreciate the opportunity. I just, my concept, the brand of Developing Lafayette isn't quite a reviewer of performances. So like I feel like it's a little off brand, and I don't want to accept the tickets just for sake of accepting it to get a free concert. And I know Dierks Bentley's been around since early 2000s, got some great hits, and I'd love to interview him. I thought about like maybe the podcast would be cool, like find a way to get that. But they said I'd have to go there to the Cajundome or something like that to do that. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I thought that was a really neat thing that came to my email. It's like, man, I really had a chance right there to meet someone that's super famous, or I say super famous. He's famous enough now. And but yeah, I had to pass on it. And I felt weird about that. But like, it's not every day that comes along.
Yeah, definitely. I guess you'll have to start thinking of a spin-off podcast.
Yeah, I know, right. I mean, I could have done it on the podcast, I guess, but he did say all of his slots were full, so I missed that. But I thought about it after the fact. I'm like, crap, I probably could have used this, and it would have been good. But so on that vein, when it comes to meeting stars or meeting people, do you get a chance to meet the people? Do you get to shake their hand? Do you get to talk with them? Or is there kind of a veil where the promoters are the ones who you speak with, or whoever it is, the managers and the acts are usually, there's a veil between them and you?
It just depends on the artist and a lot of times on their timeline, like how soon before a show are they coming in, or if they're coming in a day before and they got all day. And, a lot of times we'll try to line up different experiences for them. So especially if they're, from somewhere up north, or, they're not coming to Louisiana all the time. We might be like, hey, can we set up a swamp tour for you? Or do you like to play golf? Let's set you up at a course. So, we kind of work with different partners to do stuff like that for them. And then typically for like our major headliners, we'll put together a gift for the artist. So we'll usually try to do a little research and come up with something that's kind of custom. And put it together. We'll usually try to work with as many like local, makers or crafters, depending on the item. And then, so sometimes we do get to give it to them. So we might, it might be a quick like, hey, this is on behalf of the building, shake their hand. Thank you very much. So glad to have you here. And then it's over, maybe a quick photo and it's done. And then sometimes the tour manager says, "Oh, thanks," like they're tied up, but I'll bring it to them, So it just kind of depends. So there've been a few that we've gotten to kind of meet and, like I said, really brief chat, because for the most part, this is usually like during their meet and greet times, which might be 20 minutes before they go on stage.
Right.
So they're trying to run everybody through, shake the hands, and then they're going, get a swig of water, and then they're getting ready to get in their stage position, So it's usually a very quick process, but sometimes it's pretty cool where we get to kind of interact a little bit and see their behind-the-scenes personalities in a way.
Is there any particular performer or act that has come through that you've met them and it was like a starstruck experience? Is there anything like that for you?
we did get to meet Reba.
Or are you
Reba when
jaded?
she was here.
Really?
Which was pretty cool. We actually worked with Queen of Sparkles out of Baton Rouge, their clothing line.
Okay.
And we essentially had a rack of sparkles for her of different clothing items.
Nice.
And so it was really cute. She came out and she's like, oh my God, is all this for me? She's like, did you make this? We had to kind of be like, no, ma'am, but it's all for you. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, she was great to kind of meet and interact with. The Leonard Skinner guys were super funny. We worked with Mudcat Whiskers out of Youngsville.
Okay.
They're like a local beard and grooming products.
Yeah.
And so we made these little dop kits that said, this bag is for a sharp dressed simple man, because that was the name of the tour. So they're all pulling the stuff out the bags, like, what's this? Like, oh, cool, So it was a lot of fun. It's really fun to kind of interact with them in that kind of way.
Were they with ZZ Top at that point? Because it was sharp dressed. Yeah,
yes,
I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the show we just had back in April.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun.
All right.
But like I said, however we can kind of highlight, a lot of times local products. We usually always we work with Tabasco, and they'll do a custom bottle of Tabasco with their name on the label and stuff. So we try to do some kind of unique things that, in a way, they can kind of take the Cajundome and or Lafayette with them wherever they go.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that's cool. I was looking at some of the acts that are going to the Cajun Holiday State Fair. You mentioned the Criers. That's really cool because they're a local little band here. But Fuel,
yes,
Fuel was peak alternative rock back in my early high school days, and honestly, I can't even tell you what the name of the songs are anymore. It's been so long since I've heard them, but it's really cool that they're coming. And then you have some local guys. Is it them guys? Are they local?
Yes, they're
them
local.
Guys, yeah.
They're a local rock band. Yeah. So they'll open the day around 5:00 tomorrow, and then Criers will come on, and then Fuel will close the night tomorrow.
Nice. And then I see you have a bunch. There is a bunch on here.
Yeah, we got we fill up 11 days with a lot of really diverse set of bands and everything.
Yeah, you
so
got
a lot
Chris
of live
Hardwick.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. So this Sunday we actually have it's a band from the Dominican Republic. They're called Proyecto Uno. So kind of going along with that nostalgia, they had quite a few Latin hits, kind of like that early 2000s kind of era. If you know anyone that does Zumba, they'll probably recognize a song or two. So they're actually going to be Sunday night. And then next Friday's the Pop 2000 show. So we've got, LFO, O-Town, Ryan Cabrera. So that boy band age of the early 2000s. And then the next weekend we're going to have, it's called the Gumbo Love Bash. So we're working with Roy Chip Anthony. And so he's bringing out Chris Ardwad, Justin Champagne, Lil Nate. So it's going to be, a lot of fun, a lot of fun stuff going on.
Yeah. So you mentioned Justin Champagne. He's one of the artists that records in the Music Academy of Acadiana's studio, or at least he did. He probably has another studio that he goes to now that he's got I think he signed some kind of deal in partnership or something with Snoop Dogg. So highfalutin at that time now, but yeah. So I was actually at the Music Academy of Acadiana's space probably a year or so ago now, and I took a tour inside the recording studio, and they have all the equipment, the audio equipment, and then there's this glass window, and it was dark in this room, but it was the recording booth, and there was this voice that was just talking, but nobody in the room that I was standing with was talking, and I was like, who's talking? And the guy was like, it's me, I'm behind this glass, and I'm like, and I was like, oh, and Tim, the founder of Music Academy, he was like, yeah, do you know Justin Champagne? I'm like, sounds familiar. He goes, yeah, he does a lot of music recording, and he's had a couple of songs kind of go viral on local radio stations. And I'm like, okay, I think I know what you're talking about now. He was had a music video with a bunch of lifted trucks and something about New Iberia. It was about that.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
But it was cool. I was like, oh, so I can't see him, but I was like, it's cool to meet you, kind of. So that's one of the people. So And then you mentioned NSYNC. So is it Chris Kirkpatrick?
Yes,
Is that
Chris Kirkpatrick. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
He was one of the not the front guys, like they're all front guys, but Justin Timberlake was the front guy.
Yes.
And then he was like one of the supporting members of the band. So yeah,
absolutely. But he was just recently like on Masked Singer and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's tried to like branch out and do some more stuff more recently.
Yeah, because you got Joey. Is it Joey Fatone?
Yes.
Like everybody knows that guy, and he looks like he's aged crazy with the super gray beard and all this good stuff. But yeah, man, really cool throwback kind of things happening here, and yeah, it's one of those things where it fits with the 36th anniversary, because I'm 38 and I feel like this is all stuff that I listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, so what about some other events? There's a few other things that are happening. So we got our hometown girl. I say hometown girl. I think she got started in Lafayette, Lauren Daigle. Mm-hmm. So tell us about that, and then kind of go through a couple of the other events that you have going on, and then we'll close out.
Sure, yeah, we have Lauren Daigle. She's coming up right after the fair on June 12th. She's actually closing out her Kaleidoscope tour here, so it'll be kind of the last show of this tour. A little secret tidbit, I guess, maybe it's a secret. So they're going to be kind of doing this closeout sale on her tour merch. So we're going to have this block party the day before the show where you can come out, buy some of her tour merch, I guess at a discounted price.
Okay.
Because they want to move it, right? So we'll have more details coming out about that. And then June 27th is Dierks Bentley. And then we've got some convention center stuff going on as well. I know there's a boxing event on June 15th. Some local boxers and fighters doing that.
Dustin Poirier is not involved?
I think he's got a bigger fight coming up, if I recall.
Yeah.
So
he's always got a bigger fight.
Probably one that pays a lot more money, if I had to guess.
Well, he's a charitable guy. He would do stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. If it's not on the same night, I guess.
Right.
And then you've got Eat Lafayette's going to have their kickoff event coming up in June. And then we're actually going to be hosting the USA Karate National Championships in July. So, that'll be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
And we had the USA Boxing just a few weeks, I guess that was last December. So it'd be kind of cool to see this karate space kind of take over the Cajundome and Convention Center as well. We've got Jelly Roll coming in September, which is big. I think kind of single seats left available for that one. And then we announced a new show, the Hot Wheels Monster Truck Tour, and it's like a glow party. So they don't ride on dirt. It's actually like a track and stuff that they lay out. And then I guess it's kind of like almost kind of like blacked out in there, and like glow lights and black lights, I guess. So it's supposed to be like a pretty cool experience, like see the trucks in the dark, essentially. Right. And I guess when they race or whatever they do. So I'm pretty excited to see what that's going to look like in the dome.
Yeah. So Bennett and I went to the Toughest Monster Truck Tour earlier this year, and I was not prepared. I thought I was prepared. I was prepared for Bennett. I bought some earmuffs so he could, wear those. But I was fully not expecting the trucks to be as loud as they were. It was so ear-piercing, and now I understand the earmuffs, like why they're there. And so there was a lady sitting on the side of me, and she saw that I was literally doing this, like trying to like protect my ears, because it was just at a certain point when all the trucks were running, it sounded like static in my ear. I was like, I'm gonna lose my hearing. This is bad. So I was like covering my ears, and then lady had some earplugs, and I put those in, and like totally enjoyed the show much more now that I didn't have to keep my fingers in my ears. But that's cool. So Hot Wheels, it's a different agency, because you have Toughest Monster Truck. I think there's another one, Monster Jam or something to that effect. And then you got Hot Wheels Monster Truck. There's a lot of different monster truck groups. Yeah,
there's a few that I guess they all kind of spun off of the original, right? So people that left the company and decided to start their own tours.
Yeah. Which one has Bigfoot?
I want to say that's through Monster. Well, so funny enough, so I think definitely Monster Jam runs Bigfoot. But Toughest Monster Trucks used to have Bigfoot because there's
Okay.
more than one. There's actually more than one Bigfoot
Okay,
car,
there are
right?
a lot of
so
big feet.
just like they run their different cars on different tours,
Yeah.
so you could still see Bigfoot if one's in Illinois and another show's in
Nice.
Alabama. You could still have Bigfoot at both shows, right? So they're like contract workers, I guess, in a sense, right? Like they get hired on by a tour and all that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you could see it on those tours.
So, when it comes to releasing information about a big act, because I know you guys like to tease the community, and I think Jelly Roll for sure was one of them. There was several of them, but it's interesting to see how many people in the comments already know or have like a gut feeling of who is coming. They probably are like Uber followers of these people and know their tour dates. But like when you guys tease, like are you expecting people to already know what it is, or like are there times where like nobody knows what this is or who's coming? Like whenever you guys do that, like what is that like?
It kind of depends. Like sometimes we try to be a little more cryptic to where it's not so obvious, and then sometimes Jelly Roll, they put a Facebook boost out there that's like, oh, enter to win tickets in Lafayette, Louisiana before anyone's announced anything. So it's like, well, I guess they kind of beat us to the punch, so we don't have to be as cryptic. We can be a little more obvious in our messaging, right? So it just kind of depends. Like if there's already a buzz out there, or if it's been leaked already, we might be a little more lenient in how we try to depict our graphic. But yeah, if it's a little more hush-hush, if it's super secretive, and then we'll try to, like I said, be a little more cryptic and give you a little bit of an inkling to where you might be like, well, it could, and like you said, if you're a super fan, you might pick up a piece immediately.
Right.
But maybe to the average Joe who's just a casual listener, they're not going to realize that, oh, that's their mother's, favorite snack on the beach, whatever, right? They're not going to put all the pieces together right away. So we usually try to buy a little time, and obviously the more guesses on there, the better. Even the really bad ones are good with the algorithm, right?
Dude, it's interesting though. Whenever you guys release something, and I'm watching the comments, I'm like, how do people know? Like, you do a pretty good job of like keeping it secret, like and keeping it cryptic. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'll get an email from you like, hey, we're prepping this, and I'm like, okay, I know now. I know, but like these people know in the comments, like they know, and they didn't even get the press release. Like it's wild. So with that, there was a question I had. It's fleeting. It's fleeting. This is the trouble with doing live broadcast. Oh my gosh. What was I gonna ask you? I don't even remember. It was something about Jelly Roll. Okay. Jelly. You know what? See, that's the problem with doing live. I completely forgot what I was going to ask. And I thought it was good. I thought it might not even be that good, but I thought it was good.
Let's see, for his, it was like rolling out it was like a red carpet.
Yeah.
And then it looked like it was actually one of Caroline's cookies. We worked with them. They changed their like strawberry Pop-Tart cookie, and we called it the Jelly Roll.
Okay.
Because it had, I think it's Noni's strawberry preserves in it. So we were like, oh, that's perfect. So like it kind of was like a floating cookie in the air. So a lot of people were like, it must be jelly. It looks like a donut. So we thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, but like I said, he had already someone's team had already kind of spoiled it and put out some feelers in the market to see how the show would sell. Like people thought it wouldn't sell well. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that was fun.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love watching. Here's the thing. This is my thought. So when it comes to releasing stuff, and there was one particular event that was released that a lot of people were excited about, and I don't remember if I had tickets or if we were going. I can't remember, but I know a lot of people had tickets, and the event had to be canceled. But I don't ever remember if it was brought back. And you might have insight on it. And if it was brought back and I missed it, that's my fault. But Journey.
Yeah, we had Journey in February
Was
last
it?
year.
Okay.
February last year.
So they did come back.
Yes, they did come. Yes.
Okay, because
No, I think that was a few years before that where the Journey show got canceled.
Something had happened.
I think they couldn't make it like work on the rerouting or something to reschedule.
And dude, so many people were so upset. And there was no rescheduling or nothing. It was like, hey, you're getting a refund. And people were like, well, all right.
Yeah.
Are they ever going to come back? And so obviously, if you had him last year, that was several years. So yeah, that was a good span of time between the prior expected show versus now. Yeah, that was my thought. That was that. I'm glad I remember what it was because I was like, it's going to kill me. But is there anything else that we should know or kind of have put our feelers out there for in the future besides what we've already mentioned? Or is there anything specific about the state fair this weekend and next weekend that you want people to know, or before we close out?
Yeah, I guess just to share, if you are going to be coming out to the Cajun Heartland State Fair, it's going on now through June 2nd. We actually have a free mobile app this year that you can download.
Okay.
So it's got, all the daily hours, the show times for the attractions, the band schedules. You can even look up, there's a little blurb on each band in there. So if you're like, well, who's this band? What do they do? You can read about them and decide if you want to go check them out. So we have the new mobile app this year. We are still implementing our clear bag policy, just like we'd have for any other Cajundome event. We do allow diaper bags and medical bags. They don't have to be clear, but everything else should be clear bag. So we're just, it's going to be warm. It's going to be beautiful. We've got sun, thankfully projected, I think, through the next 10 days. So
yeah, it's gonna be. It's been warm. It's been warm out there.
It has. We've got some little misting tents set up throughout the grounds, thanks to Butcher Air Conditioning. So, just come on out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, we've got 10 days to go, so plenty of opportunity to come out and go fun.
Gosh, yes, that jingle, man. I've been teaching my little boy about that. I played that in the commercial in the car, and I said, Bennett, this is how you sing the song. You gotta say go, fun. I don't know why, but you gotta add that part to the jingle. It's been ingrained in my brain as a kid, that jingle, and it just brings so much memories. Memories of me not coming to the Cajun Heartland State Fair until as an adult. But anyway.
Well, glad to have you now.
Well, I'm glad to be able to help promote it and share it, and it helps me bring in my little boy and him experiencing it too. So, and I love doing everything with you guys. So anyway, other than that, this was a great episode. I think it was solid. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to mention before we go? I think that's it.
I think so, yeah. I mean, for any event information, you just head to Cajundome.com and feel free to reach out to us too if you have any specific questions.
Yeah. So yeah, Cajun. So if you want to learn more about the Cajun Heartland State Fair, Cajundome.com/CHSF. But just Google Cajun Heartland State Fair. It literally will just pop right up. The mobile app is, what do we type in to find the mobile app? Is it the Cajun Heartland State Fair or is it the Cajundome? What do we type in? Yeah,
you'll type in Cajun Heartland State Fair, and it's on both the iOS Apple Store and Google Play.
Got it. Awesome sauce. Well, Casey, it was a great episode. I hope that you don't stay too hot this next few days. You stay air conditioned. I know you'll be in your office, I'm sure, most days. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the next few months of all the activities. And yeah, and I appreciate your work in the Cajundome and your partnership.
Yeah, well, thanks for all you do, and thanks for having me today.
All right, guys, that is it. We hope you have a great weekend and enjoy the state fair. Enjoy all the events that are happening at the Cajundome, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one. Bye.